Today we're brewing Jamil Zainasheff's Jamil's Evil Twin all-grain kit from Northern Brewer. I'm dedicating this brew session to my late father Jamil, who is certainly known to all as being the complete opposite of evil. And I thought it would be cool to brew a beer with his name in it. I mean, really, how many Jamils do you know? A few notes on this recipe. Jamil has authorized the substitution of the Amarillo hops with Cascade due to a shortage, so that's what we're going to have in this brew today. The recipe also calls for a 90-minute boil opposed to a 60-minute boil and racking to a secondary, so we're going to follow all that today. It's mid-November here in Michigan, and we're supposed to be having unseasonably high temperatures around 62 degrees today. With that, though, they're expecting some high winds and strong storms. So I figured it'd be a good time to show how Brew-in-a-Bag would perform on my stovetop as opposed to my Bayou Classic burner. The recipe calculated out, taking into consideration that 90-minute boil, you got to calculate that in there. 8 gallons of strike water. So I've done 8 gallons on this stovetop before, and the downsides really were time. It took a lot longer, obviously, to do. Space, it's difficult to deal with the height of the kettle and my grain strainer and put in the grains in and out. And the boil itself, I just don't get a strong enough rolling boil on it. You have to keep things covered, but you don't have to watch for boil over and things like that. So how is your kettle going to perform? Well, just for a little bit of reference for you, this burner that I'm using is a natural gas burner that is 17,000 BTU. So it's going to be a long brew day for sure, but at least we're still going to be brewing today. So let's get started. So the cool thing about brewing inside is I get to use my wife's cool pot filler, which makes it pretty easy considering I got to deal with 8 gallons of water. Make sure your valve, of course, is closed and really try to center the kettle as best you can on the stovetop so that we can get as much even heat distribution as possible. So we're going to get this thing filled up to 8 gallons and hit our strike temp of 152. One thing not to forget is you still need some sort of heat shield to protect your sight glass or thermometer or whatever you have. I mean, the flames aren't coming out here, but without putting, this piece under here, it was really hot. You couldn't put your finger under here, but I can easily put my finger under here now without any trouble at all. And we're just getting started, but just so you don't forget. So we've got a total of 4 hop additions. 3 of them we've got to have to measure out from the kit, and the last one's easy because it's 1 ounce of each. So this one will be an easy one at the end. We don't have to worry about that. So just get your scale, make sure you measure for whatever container you're going to use so you get the right, measurement there. And I'm going to create do the hop additions now, or prep them. Now it's time to put the grains in. It's always better to stir this as you're adding them slowly, but since everything, when you order a full kit, it comes in the one big bag ready to go, which certainly makes some of it easier, but also makes a little bit of it more difficult because you don't want to get it all clumped up. Start your timer for 90 minutes. Bringing the big paddle out because these things are definitely clumped up, so I want to make sure I break them up good now. Okay, our 90-minute mash is complete. We're going to give this a stir, and get the temperature up to 170 for mash out. Okay, we hit our mash out temp. 170, give it a quick stir, and let it go for 10 minutes. Okay, mash out is complete. We'll just give this guy a quick stir, and we're going to pull the bag.
let's get the temperature started up. Get the boil temperature up. Pull this out and get our pre-boil readings. So it looks like our pre-boil level is about 6.4. Let's get our pre-boil reading. Okay, we just fired up the kettle to get us up to boil. So we're at about 15 minutes into the boil. Here's an idea of what kind of temperature we're sitting at. Got to talk kind of loud. We got our ventilation hood on. This is the kind of boil we got going. It's pretty good. That's probably about as strong as it'll get throughout this process. So I know when I boil outside it's much stronger. It's getting a little bit better though now. I guess now that I'm looking at it, so it's not too bad. So far so good. Waiting around for our first hop addition. Remember, this is 90-minute boil, so your first hop addition is at 60 minutes. Okay, it's time for our first hop addition. Alright, it's time for hop addition number 2. Okay, now time for our roll flock tablet. Okay, time for our third hop addition. And we also have to start sanitizing our immersion chiller. Okay, it's time for our fourth and final hop additions. And flame out. That's it. We've already sanitized our lid, so we will be getting ready for cool down. Here's a quick cool down setup we use in the kitchen. I got a little adapter that goes here. You have to pull this piece right here out and replace the aerator with an adapter that fits up in there. Barely, it leaks a little bit, but and it connects to the hose connection. And I just have everything drained right in the sink. Okay, our wort is just about down to where we want it to be, so we're going to do a little bit of prep. Gotta do a little sanitizing, make sure everything is good, make sure that our yeast pack is sanitized, so we'll do that real quick. Alright, so after our cool down, we're just about 69.7 degrees, a little cooler than I wanted to be, but we're right there. I've removed the hot bags and the chiller, and we're at about, I'd say about 5.6 gallons after all that. So that's pretty good. We'll lose a little bit going into the fermenter, but we should be right where we need to be. So it's time to start sending the beer off. Lots of splashing, get a lot of variation in there. Okay, it looks like we hit our number. It's real good. Say that's 5.5 gallons into the primary, so I'm super happy about that. Now I'm going to take my final gravity reading and we'll pitch. Okay, be sure to aerate it real good. Looking inside, doesn't look like I popped my thing. Looks like I popped one of them. Let's See that? There's 2 in there. Looks like one's been popped. Sanitize my top. Series. So this is what's inside of the activator, and it looks like mine didn't break. It felt like it did, and it swelled up. I'm not really quite sure what happened. I don't know if this is packaged separately. I don't believe so. So it didn't do anything. Inside there's nothing, which is unfortunate, but I believe I read that it's not a full requirement either, so we'll see what happens with it. Okay, so here we are, all ready to go. I did check up on whether the Y-yeast pack needs to activate, and they said it doesn't even need to activate. It's just used to help get things going, test viability. You can pitch it without activating it, it's just fine, so I didn't pour it in there or anything like that. Just pitched it like, just pitched the yeast and didn't worry about it. I'm going to use my blow-off tube just to be safe. I don't think I'm going to need it, but I think it'll get close, but I think we'll be fine. So this will be a temporary. I can't put the my heating fermenter heater under there yet for 24 hours. That's what the unit says, but we'll get that under there as well. So we'll do some checking up on it in a bit. Cover it up, protect it from light. It's sitting at a good 70 degrees now, so we should be in good shape. So here we are after about 15 hours. Everything's looking good. Temperature's still sitting probably a little bit below 70, but right around 70. We're going to put the fermentation plate under this thing, warmer, and I just put together. They say to wait 24 hours, so we'll do that later this evening. We're bubbling just good. Probably didn't need the blow off at all. Everything's looking, there's plenty of space in there, but we'll leave it on there. So here we are 26 hours later. Fermentation's definitely gotten much more active. Again, don't need the blow off tube at all. Here we are sitting in a bunch of sanitizer though. So I'm going to now set up my fermentation heater and get it set up. It doesn't need a heater now. It looks at about 74 degrees, so it's definitely plenty warm, but just it will be getting cold later. So it's been about 12 days since we put this in the primary, and this brew requires a secondary, so for the recipe. So everything's looking good. I was gonna do this a few days ago. I just haven't had time, but everything is still in suspension in here, and it's hard to really tell, but it's looking good. So I'm going to get everything sanitized, pull apart my temperature monitoring daily here, which has been working really well, keeping it showing between 69 and 70. Now it can be plus or minus 1 degree, so it could be as low as 68 and as high as 71, but it's still right in there. So I'm gonna have to clean all this stuff out before I can put it back in there. So that's what we're up to. I'm gonna get ready to do it. Okay, here's how we ended up after the racking. It took, I don't know what my deal is with this this stopper today, but I had to use a whole bunch of these plastic tie wraps to hold it down. I just wasn't doing it as efficiently as I did last time, but it's really, I think, just because the actual stopper is just wet from the sanitizer. So, and there's just some that's a little star sand up at the top still here, so it's really not all that bubbly. But overall, as far as what I racked out, man, it's 5 gallons is right at the bottom of that ridge there. So we're like just a hair above, so we're looking really good on our volume. So got everything back together. The heater is sitting at exactly 70, so it's perfect. So I'm gonna get my everything cleaned up, get this guy covered up, and let it sit for a week or so. We'll see. Okay, it's December 13th, and we're getting ready to take a gravity reading on Jamil's Evil Twin. It's been in the secondary here, and I think we're going to be probably packaging it today. We started this back in November 17th, and we racked it to the secondary on the 29th. So it's about that time, I think. It's looking real good. So we're going to do a quick gravity reading and see where we go. Okay, well, I'll tell you one thing. This is some super clear beer. I mean, this video is not going to do it justice, but this thing is super clear. It looks great. It came in at 5.12%, so it's pretty good. It's not as low as I wanted to. I don't know what the compensation it was, what it came in at. I think it was 1.018. I was a little off on my original gravity, but I think it's good to go. So I'm going to package it up. Okay, just going to package this up real quick. We're just about there. Hey, we look pretty packaged up. Look, got a good amount there. That's a little bit of a sanitizer you're seeing, but I think we're good to go. I'm going to hit this thing with about 30 pounds of pressure, seal it up, and clear the headspace. Trying to, keep clearing it about 5 times so it's nice and clear, and then cold crash it for a bit before you do it in your forced carbing, and then let it condition another week or so, and maybe a week or 2, and it should be real good. Okay, everybody, this is Jamil's Evil Twin. Came in at 5.12%, and it is a great beer. I'm going to definitely be brewing this one again. I mean, the color's good. The hop bursting is just awesome. It really came out good, and remember, I did this one on a stovetop, 5 gallons, brew in a bag, so it can be done real good. Cheers.